with MPT's HBCU Week starting soon. We are joined now by Dr. Maurice Edington, president of the University of the District of Columbia. Sir, thank you for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
At our taping time, I think you've been on the job for all of 2 weeks.
Yep.
So I can imagine what your calendar is like, and we really appreciate you making a few minutes.
Well, yeah, no, this is a priority for me. So I'm happy to have the opportunity to share some thoughts and vision about UDC.
Well, let's start with UDC. What attracted you to this position?
Two things primarily. One was the people. I saw that there was just a strong sense of support and commitment to this institution. Each individual that I interacted with during the search process, it came across clear to me that those individuals really had a passion for UDC. And then the other thing was the possibility for what we can do here, building on the platform and the foundation that's been established. You know, where I was in my career before I got here was at a point where I wanted to go somewhere to help elevate and do some things that hadn't been done before. And I see that that's something that's possible here at UDC.
You were at Florida A&M University. You served as the chief operating officer. You served as the provost. What would you say were your top accomplishments there?
Well, you know, I would think it is grounded in improving student success outcomes, taking a leadership role, helping to craft the strategy for how we would address student success as an institution. And then, you know, at the direction of the president leading the charge. And we did some tremendous work in improving our retention and graduation rates at the university during my time in those leadership roles.
And that was, in fact, one of the things that UDC pointed out in the press release announcing your hiring. What would you say that were the keys to improving retention and graduation rates?
Yeah, I think, you know, we spent a lot of time studying, evaluating best practices, right? We took the approach that we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but identify practices that have been proven in higher ed, and then spend time thinking about how to best adapt those to the institution. We did a lot of work in that space, visiting other campuses, reading literature, doing research on our own. I did a lot of research, still do in that space. And then we got a crystal clear vision of what some of the things are we should be doing. And then we moved very aggressively to put those things in place, invested more in academic support services and student success initiatives, and really got alignment across the whole organization about what was important. And so it was just a collective effort from top to bottom at the university.
What are some of the barriers there? Once somebody has selected a school, they've applied, they've been accepted, they start. Obviously, finances could be a big one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Finances, definitely. But in my experience, even more than finances, the students that have challenges, it's either one, their maturation level. It's not at the level it needs to be, right? So say you come from a background where academically you're well prepared, but then you get to the campus environment and you're just not mature enough for that transition. But even more than that, it's really students coming through the K-12 system in certain areas where the preparation is lacking. And when you get on any college campus, it's different in terms of what's required in terms of effort and competency in some core areas. And so you often see that students come unprepared in certain areas like math. And so you have to spend some time identifying those deficiencies and trying to address them and shore up those gaps quickly.
And it's not the sort of thing where you can just send an email to somebody. It's
Exactly.
once you've identified somebody who's struggling, it's a labor-intensive, hands-on
Yes.
process. What's the key to making it work across a big university?
You know, one of the things that we really saw to be effective is, I'm going to say intrusion, but really this concept of intrusive advising, which is, and coupled with a team-based approach, right? So intrusive advising at its core is trying to identify information that are indicators of potential issues with a student in real time, and then having the technology to share that information and the services available to direct the student. So if you see a student struggling early in the semester with math or math quizzes, right, things that you wouldn't normally be looking at, or you get feedback from faculty members about a student, is having systems that allow you to get that information and act on it quickly. And so those are some of the key strategies that we and others have found to be very effective.
We may need a better term than intrusive advising. If I
Mhm.
think back to being a student and somebody had signed me up for that, I would have run the other direction, I
Right.
think. But we're talking about hands-on,
Yeah.
one-to-one, and letting the student know that their success is important.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
You mentioned STEM education. Your background as a physical chemist is really important to you. Um, how do we elevate the people graduating K through 12, elevate college students for the jobs that we have now, the jobs that we're going to have in the future? And everybody, of course, is talking nonstop about artificial intelligence.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's a combination of aggressive education and outreach. I think as a university and universities, we need to think a little bit differently about how we engage students while they're in the K-12 pipeline, trying to connect with them earlier in the pipeline at middle school level and below, and provide educational resources to the students and the parents, especially, to help position them as parents to support their students and educate the parents about what type of preparation is needed for the students. Because what we find is students, when they get to high school, some students tend not to take the appropriate level of math credits. They're at the core science background that they're going to need to transition effectively to a STEM major at the university. And then at that point, it's very difficult to keep the student on track. And so we think that if you go back earlier and catch the parents and the students right at that middle school level, before they get to high school, they can approach high school with a different perspective about really being serious and aggressive at that level about getting those credits in place to help them start their curriculum at the right point when they get to the college environment.
Let's talk about HBCUs a little bit. You have a diverse background. You were at historically white institutions, HBCUs. Where do you think HBCUs have been? Where are we today? Where do you want to be in the future?
Yeah, well, I think we've evolved, right, as institutions where we were only options. Then there was a phase where it was questioned about whether or not we were needed. And then I think we kind of in this new phase where those outside of the community started to realize once again that we play a valuable role in helping to educate American citizens. When you look at the data, it's quite clear that many high-level professionals got their start on the campus of an HBCU. And we continue to be, I think, a source for this country to provide avenues for social mobility and to alter the trajectory of a large population in this country. I think people who work at HBCUs tend to be totally invested in the success and the outcomes of the students that we serve. So it's more than just a job. And the data that this country has on its citizens show we're still needed to help bridge the gap between students on the lower socioeconomic end of the spectrum. I mean, there's still a need for us to provide access, opportunity, and achievement for a large segment of this population.
Did you see it in your previous job as well? Was there a change over the past 3, 4, 5 years in terms of, I don't know, the energy level, the number of applicants, the funding resources, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I would say we did. We saw more energy, right? Our admissions applicants went up. We saw increased interest on the part of potential donors, corporate donors, to support the work that we're doing. And so it's been a very positive trend over the last few years in those regards. HBCUs have gotten more attention and appreciation for the work that we do.
Lastly, is there anything else that you want people in the UDC community and the broader community to know about you and your background and your mission?
Yes, that I'm committed to UDC and I'm here to serve. I'm happy to be here and the future is bright for UDC. And I just look forward to further engagement with the entire Firebird Nation as we come together and continue the great work that's been done to elevate this university to a higher level.
Dr. Edington, congratulations on the new position. We greatly appreciate your time. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Appreciate it.
Visit mpt.org/HBCU for more information on HBCU Week, which begins September the 4th.